Welcome to NTD News. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Here are today's top stories. Netanyahu, Putin, Macron, and Pence. World leaders attend the Holocaust Forum in Jerusalem. A France-US agreement on digital tax. The two countries are shifting their focus to an international solution. The UK's Brexit deal gets through Parliament, moving it closer to the January 31st deadline, but there's more that's needed to make it final. And the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued a new alert for China after pneumonia outbreak thanks to the new coronavirus. Dozens of world leaders gathered in Jerusalem today for the International Holocaust Forum. Vice President Mike Pence spoke of a tide of anti-Semitic violence and hate that is sweeping through the world.
Vice President Mike Pence arrived in Israel on Thursday to attend the World Holocaust Forum. It's the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. World leaders gathered at the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Center in Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned of the dangers to Israel from Iran. He said the Iranian regime openly seeks to develop nuclear weapons and annihilate the one and only Jewish state. Netanyahu also thanked President Trump and Vice President Pence for confronting the tyrants of Tehran. Pence said that a united front is needed to combat anti-Semitism.
We must be prepared to confront and expose the vile tide of anti-Semitism that is fueling hate and violence all across the world, and we must stand together.
He said the Iranian government denies the Holocaust as a matter of state policy and threatens to wipe Israel off the map.
The world must stand strong against the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Overall, 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Anti-Semitic attacks are thought to be rising in the U.S. and Europe.
The House managers are set to continue their opening arguments at 1 p.m. today. Senators gave their opinions after yesterday's proceedings of the impeachment trial of President Trump.
Senate Republicans said Wednesday they were not impressed by the first day of the House managers' arguments in President Trump's impeachment trial. Senators left the chamber for a break Wednesday evening. Many said they hadn't heard anything new from the Democrat impeachment managers.
Well, we've just come out of listening to about 6 hours of testimony so far today, 6.5. I didn't hear anything new at all.
Just a few hours into their opening arguments, they're already repeating the same points they made for 13 hours yesterday.
Senator Tim Scott agreed, calling the proceedings so far a rehashing of the charade from the day before. Senator Ted Cruz was not hopeful he'd hear any new evidence in the days to come.
We're going to hear another 2.5 days of arguments from the House Democrats, but the longer they talk at this point, the weaker the case is getting.
Republican senators maintain that the impeachment trial led by House Democrats is to reject the 2016 presidential winner and impair his chances of re-election this year.
The House Democrats hate Trump. They want to change the election in 2016, kick a guy out of office that was duly elected, and they want to kick him off the ballot in 2020.
Democrats are still demanding that select documents and witnesses be allowed in the trial. Democratic Senator Michael Bennet said looking at the evidence was vital. He said he hopes to change Senate rules to allow this. Michael Bennet is in competition with President Trump for the next presidential election. Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was asked if he would allow Republicans to bring in former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter to testify should witnesses be included.
The witnesses should have something to do with and direct knowledge of the charges against the president.
Democrats have 3 days to make their case. President Trump's defense team will have 3 days after that for rebuttal. The president denies any wrongdoing.
And a government expert says the Senate is giving itself the option to hear from additional witnesses after House managers present their case, but that it's unlikely the president will be removed from office. NTD's Kevin Hogan has more.
Majority Leader is recognized.
The Vice President of the Institute for Constitutional Government, John Malcolm, commented on the impeachment trial in the Senate. He says the House of Representatives had their chance to gather the evidence they need, but now that the trial has started, it should not be a continuation of the investigation.
They said, we have an overwhelming case against the president, and then they appear to be saying, But we need more documents and we need more evidence. And we should be allowed to conduct additional discovery to continue the investigation.
Malcolm says if all Democratic senators vote to convict the president, they would still need 20 Republicans to cross over and vote to convict him.
I have a very, very hard time imagining that they could possibly get anywhere near 20 Republicans to vote to remove the president from office.
In his opinion, there are very few people whose minds have changed because of the impeachment.
People are going to decide whether they like what the president is doing, the good economy, the new trade deal with Mexico and Canada, criminal justice reform measures, other things.
Accept a Congress that is willing to let it be so.
He says we will see Democrat House managers saying this is all about corruption, but the White House will counter them.
You're going to get the president's lawyers saying this is a rigged process and that this is really all about how the Democrats have hated this president from the moment he won the election.
Malcolm mentioned the Democrats have talked about removing Trump from office since the moment he got in. Reporting by Kevin Hogan and Kitty Wong, NTD News.
It's a whole hoax. It's called the impeachment hoax.
And reconvening today, France and the U.S. have come to an agreement on the digital tax. France has shifted its focus from taxing big digital companies to finding a global solution with the U.S.
France announced on Wednesday that it reached a deal with the U.S. on finding an international solution to the digital tax issue.
This working basis should mean that we can get to work on the details next week to look at the different options for the taxation of digital activities.
Instead of focusing on taxing big tech companies like Facebook and Google, France agreed to work with the U.S. on rewriting international tax rules for the digital age. Le Maire and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin hammered out a series of written proposals that they'll discuss with over 100 governments next week. Other countries, however, like the UK, have said they'll roll out their digital tax this year before reaching an international solution.
We plan to go ahead with our digital services tax in April. It is a proportionate tax, and it is a tax that is deliberately designed as a temporary tax. So it will fall away once there is an international solution.
Thank you. France had also implemented its digital tax, but later suspended it until the end of this year after the U.S. threatened to impose tariffs on French goods.
The U.S. envoy issued a warning to the successor of a dead Iranian general. The U.S. official told an Arabic media that if he kills any Americans, he'll be dealt with the same way by the U.S.
The U.S. envoy to Iran told an Arabic newspaper that Iran's new general would face the same fate as his predecessor if he killed any Americans. Iranian General Qasem Soleimani was killed by the U.S. in a drone strike this month. Swiftly afterwards, Ismail Ghani was appointed as the new general. He said he'd follow in Soleimani's footsteps. U.S. envoy Brian Hook said this isn't a new threat. He added that President Trump has always said he'll respond quickly to protect American interests. After he was appointed, the new general outlined his goal of driving U.S. forces out of the region. But Hook said Iran now understands that they can't attack and get away with it.
A U.S. State Department official says the Chinese Communist regime is violating a UN resolution. Sanctions disallowing North Korean workers aim to stop funding going to North Korea's missile program.
A senior U.S. official says the Chinese Communist regime failed to send home North Korean workers by a December deadline, in violation of United Nations sanctions. A 2017 UN Security Council resolution backed by the regime demanded that all countries repatriate North Korean workers by December 22nd. The resolution aims to keep them from earning money that North Korea takes and uses for its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. The United States estimated Pyongyang was earning more than $500 million a year from nearly 100,000 workers abroad. 500,000 of those workers were in China and 30,000 in Russia. A senior State Department official told reporters that many of the workers were repatriated, but confirmed that he was not seeing enough action from the Chinese regime.
Boris Johnson's Brexit deal has cleared its final parliamentary hurdle, paving the way for the UK to leave the EU with a pact in place at the end of the month.
Britain moved a step closer to its January 31st exit from the European Union when the legislation required to ratify its deal with Brussels passed its final stage in Parliament on Wednesday. The bill will officially become law when it receives royal assent from Queen Elizabeth, something that could happen as soon as Thursday. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said in a statement that Parliament has passed the withdrawal agreement bill, meaning we will leave the EU on January 31st and move forward as one United Kingdom. A consent vote in the EU Parliament will take place on January 29th. An EU spokesperson said the EU would take important steps to finalize the withdrawal on Friday, when the presidents of the European Commission and European Council sign the agreement. The European Parliament then has to vote the withdrawal agreement into law before January 31st for the deal to be finalized on the EU side.
A Canadian-owned C-130 Hercules air tanker crashed while fighting bushfires in Australia's Alpine region today, killing all 3 of its crew.
3 people have died fighting the Australian bushfires after the air tanker they were in crashed. The aircraft was carrying fire retardant when it went down in the snowy Monaro area. The victims were reportedly American residents, and there were no survivors of the crash. New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian.
It demonstrates the dangerous work currently being undertaken, and it also demonstrates the conditions that our firefighters are working under. There are in excess of 70 aircraft that have been used today alone. And today is a stark and horrible reminder of the dangerous conditions that our volunteers, our emergency services personnel across a number of agencies undertake on a daily basis.
The cause of the incident is still unknown. The plane had been leased by Canadian aerial firefighting company Coulson Aviation, which had a second plane of the same model working in the Australian bushfires operation. Coulson grounded its large air tanker fleet following the incident, pending a review to rule out any systemic issue, such as a fuel problem. The incident brings the bushfires' death toll to 32 since September. 1 billion animals are also estimated to have perished as the fires incinerated 2,500 homes and a total area of bushland 1/3 the size of Germany.
Coming up, lawmakers are calling on the Department of Education to ban the practice of student seclusion. People are concerned the practice is being abused. More on that after the break.
When you look at TV networks in America, a soundbite and fight-it-out culture prevails on news and commentary programs. As a Canadian, I'm fascinated with America, and I wanted to offer American thought leaders an opportunity to share their thoughts in a deep dive format, where we can explore their ideas together. And so American Thought Leaders was born. The world's most brilliant thinkers believed that open discourse was the key to greatness. However, all around the world, we see that discourse is being stifled and political agendas have subverted media. The Epoch Times launched its Global Thought Leaders program to bring back this great tradition of free thought. As the host of American Thought Leaders, every week I interview some of the most intriguing minds on the most pressing issues of our time. Be sure to check out our new episodes every week.
Our investigative reporters at the Epoch Times have spent 18 months uncovering the biggest political scandal in modern history. We connected the dots around Spygate, the actions by Obama-era officials against Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Join me on Declassified as we bring you up-to-date developments on this unfolding scandal.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has issued an alert for the ongoing outbreak of pneumonia. The sickness caused by a new coronavirus was first identified in Wuhan, China.
In response to the coronavirus outbreak, the U.S. Department of State posted advisories for people traveling to the city of Wuhan and other areas inside China. The department also explained what to do if you feel sick after traveling to Wuhan. The website advises seeking medical attention immediately and calling ahead to describe symptoms and recent travel. On Thursday, China locked down 2 cities at the epicenter of the outbreaks. Officials are concerned that the virus will begin to spread more quickly as millions travel inside and out of China for the Lunar New Year holiday this weekend. So far, the virus has killed 17 people and infected nearly 600. Travelers in Shanghai were uneasy as hundreds of millions already traveled home and abroad. I think it's a little bit late. Most people who want to leave the city have already left. They will be long way away by now. No, it appears that people who have not been to Wuhan are infected, so I think the epidemic situation is almost out of control. The outbreak began in Wuhan but has now spread to other Chinese cities, including the capital Beijing, Shanghai, and Macau. Cases have also been reported outside the country's borders, including in South Korea, Thailand, Japan, and the U.S. Hong Kong also confirmed on Thursday that a second person in the city has been infected with the coronavirus.
So we are now sending staff to do the site visit together with the staff from the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department to try to make sure the room has been disinfected well, and also the common area has been disinfected well, and also we'll do further contact tracing there.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has said it will decide on Thursday whether to declare the outbreak a global health emergency, which would step up the international response.
Lawmakers are calling for a nationwide ban on student isolation after Illinois announced it would end the practice. Concern is rising that this isolated timeout is being overused as a form of discipline. NTD's Melina Weiskup brings us the details.
12 lawmakers are calling on the Department of Education for a nationwide ban on student seclusion, a practice meant for emergencies when students pose a safety risk to others. Seclusion is used in various states across the nation, but there is little information about how often it is used. A November report by ProPublica Illinois revealed that sometimes the rooms were used for relatively small reasons, students refusing to do classwork or throwing toys.
Recently, attention is being drawn to this approach, and a psychologist shares his perspective on how we can address the situation from a different angle.
But if you look at this in a more psychological and therapeutic manner, as we should, because we're talking about children, we're talking about minors, these are kids perhaps who are acting out because they cannot identify what the anxiety or the anger or the sadness or the angst that they're experiencing, and therefore they acted out physically. This is really a plea for help, and I believe as teachers, as counselors, we should look at helping that student to do better in the classroom instead of just shunning them.
Following the publication of the November report, the Illinois State Board of Education responded to ban seclusion in schools across the state. Congress members and 2 senators responded, petitioning the Department of Education in a letter stating, "We were relieved. However, that makes Illinois only the 5th state to ban seclusion. There are tens of millions of American children still at risk of experiencing this detrimental practice. With Illinois pushing for national attention, we will see if more states ban the practice in the future." Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
Up next, Paris fashion is on display. See designers' new creations for spring and summer in one of Paris's many Fashion Week events. See the new styles after the break.
I have traveled all over the world to 50 countries now, and I have never seen a production any better than this. Anywhere.
It's absolutely out of this world.
It's blown away my expectations.
It was just a superior performance that truly could bridge the world through music and dance.
Startling and breathtaking. We haven't had quite an experience like that in all the years that I've lived here, so it was special for us.
I think that I learned more in this performance than I actually do in a whole week of school.
The beautiful costumes and people just float. The choreography is
incredible, and the storyline, beautiful, beautiful.
It's so beautiful. I'm getting teary-eyed watching. It's very moving. You feel it. You're feeling the show.
It's like a mini vacation that transported me into another place, into another world, into another culture.
When I came here tonight, I felt very dejected about the human race, about everything going on in this world. During the performance, I just felt now there was hope for each of us individually, as well as for all of us collectively.
Shenyun was more breathtaking, more heart-wrenchingly beautiful, more amazing than I had expected. It's very difficult to put into words, actually. You just have to come see it.
And in Paris, Fashion Week is on with the 2020 Spring and Summer Haute Couture shows. Our correspondent David Vives takes us behind the scenes.
January 22nd marks the third day of the couture shows amid one of Paris's many fashion weeks. Inside the Hotel Intercontinental, it seems there's never a minute to lose backstage. This is where models prepare for the spotlight amidst rows of dresses. Ziad Nakad is the brain behind the collection. He's also the pair of hands that perfect the small details. For his spring and summer dresses, the fashion designer imagined an ocean of colors fit for a mermaid, princess style. A twist of the hair, a last touch of glitter, but there are always small challenges for models.
With the high heel shoes that are almost 8 inches high, we need to pay attention not to fall.
In the audience are fashion lovers, critics, and potential buyers.
Amazing designer. I love his dresses. He's already done many dresses for my friends.
Then the show begins. Glamorous and glittering gowns. The dresses are designed with aesthetic cuts coupled with an attention to detail. According to Nakad presentation, a dress needs to reveal a woman's silhouette and beauty. For his 2020 collection, the designer chose an aquatic ambience.
It's about Atlantis, about a woman. She lives inside the water, and she very strong and she good personality. And I love the color about the summer. I put a lot of colors, strong colors.
He started his work in 1997. His first dress was made for family members. Today, he's one of the fashion world's rising stars.
He's maturing. I think it's becoming stronger. I think you have to deliver something that is worthwhile people paying attention to. Can't just be the same old thing. But on the other hand, it can't be so extraordinary no one can wear it.
Then comes the grand finale with the wedding dress. Just the work on the crystals and ornaments took 3 months for the Nakad teams. The haute couture shows run through January 23rd. Reporting by David Vives, NTD News.
Specialty foods galore. For 3 days, people took the opportunity to taste the latest the specialty food industry has to offer at the annual Winter Fancy Food Show in San Francisco.
From candies to cheese to meat, foodies rejoice at the Winter Fancy Food Show presented by the Specialty Food Association. People sampled the latest products from over 80,000 exhibitors. Italian company Locher released 2 new flavors of wafers, double chocolate and matcha green tea, while biscuit maker Hello Panda will have a caramel flavor available starting in April. Soul Bee Honey rebranded its packaging and is selling powdered and flaky honey as natural sweeteners. Other companies introduced new twists for existing products. Bloom, a wholesale almond company, will soon launch its first retail product.
This is a do-it-yourself kit that has the almonds, the oil, and the seasoning in it. You add it, shake it, put it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and you have a nice, hot, fresh toasted almond.
Let Them Eat Candles, run by a mother of 3 sons, came up with an edible chocolate candle that won't melt onto itself.
The wick is a short paraffin-coated cotton. You light it, and it lasts about 55 seconds. So you have long enough to sing and, blow it out, make your wish. And then there's just a little piece of wick left that you pluck out, and then you eat the chocolate that's left.
Woodland Foods, known for providing specialty ingredients, has some new dish starters.
Mole starters, curry starters, and sambal starters. They're a very unique, convenient, easy-to-use product. Just add water for an authentic curry, mole, or sambal.
A Macron company introduced a new birthday cake flavor made with natural and organic ingredients.
We use only vegetable, fruit, and spice for the color of the shells. And we use only fresh ingredients to make the filling.
The fancy food show will head to New York City at the end of June. NTD News, San Francisco, California.
Coming up, the Baseball Hall of Fame has 2 new inductees. Yankees legend and a Canadian slugger accepted the honor yesterday. Find out what it means to them after the break.
This is extremely gutsy. The Chinese Communist Party is not known for taking criticism very well.
The police have blocked off the streets and been firing tear gas and beanbag rounds at the protesters, and they've made several arrests.
警方呢是一直进行了一些推进，并且呢是多次舉起黑旗和橙旗呢，去發射了很多的催淚彈。
即係佢哋放催淚彈嗰時，嘭咁撞到個肚㗎。咁咧就我而家翻轉頭咧見到個咁嘅嘢，因為嗰時兵荒馬亂咧，我就。
That's the media liaison. They're telling us that we need to get out of here. They're telling the press to leave.
Boy, this tear gas is getting pretty strong.
The National Baseball Hall of Fame gave 2 new players the honor reserved for baseball's greatest players of all time. Derek Jeter and Larry Walker spoke about what the honor means to them.
The National Baseball Hall of Fame inducted Larry Walker and Derek Jeter with an honor reserved to baseball's all-time greatest players. Both men appeared Wednesday in New York and put on their Hall of Fame jerseys for the first time.
This is special all on its own. I mean, like I said, it doesn't get any better than this. I mean, there's no more awards. There's no other place you can go. I mean, this is it. So this is as good as it gets.
Jeter was voted into the Hall of Fame as the #2 all-time pick. He was just shy of 1 vote to tie for a record 100% on the vote. Also voted in was Canadian slugger Larry Walker, who received 76.6% in voting. It was his last chance to get inducted. He seemed surprised he made it in.
It's a call I wasn't expecting, and maybe the greatest call I've ever got. So it was an incredible whirlwind between yesterday and today. So I'm very honored to be part of this and look forward to the things that are going to be happening here.
Jeter's former teammate Mariano Rivera holds the record with a 100% vote into the Hall of Fame. He was a 2019 inductee.
Tokyo 2020 organizers enter the final stretch of planning as tomorrow marks 6 months before the start of the Olympics.
Organizers of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics Games are facing a few challenges after nearly a decade of planning. One such challenge is the city's notoriously hot summer weather. Tokyo temperatures in July and August, when the city will host the Games, regularly exceed 86 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity. After organizers failed to adequately provide assurances about dealing with the heat, the International Olympic Committee moved the marathon and race walking events nearly 500 miles north to Sapporo.
Health of the athletes and good memories were very much front of mind for us in this decision.
But organizers are dealing with fewer issues than their counterparts did in the build-up to Rio 4 years ago. Noticeably different from Brazil is the weight of public support behind the Tokyo Games, with almost 4.5 million Olympic tickets having already been sold on the domestic market. The centerpiece of Tokyo's new Olympics facilities is likely to be the 68,000-capacity National Stadium that Prime Minister Shinzo Abe opened in December. On Friday, the city will mark the 6-month milestone with a fireworks display above a giant Olympic Rings monument erected in Tokyo Bay. The games will officially start on July 24th.
And that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in. Join us again tonight. I'm Tiffany Meyer.